You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and here with me this evening to recap the first game of the 2023 Wilson football season is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's great to be here. It was fun being back in that Friday night experience. I had missed out on the scrimmage, so it was kind of my first dive into in-person Wilson football this year, and it never gets old.
No, it doesn't get old. It's always fun to be back under the Friday night lights or the bug-infested turf at Upper Dublin High School.
Well, that's like I was going to mention that. I was like, it was going to be fun to be out there, but then like the bugs were flying everywhere.
Well, it was much warmer than I expected it to be. Mostly because I guess I work inside for 10 hours a day, and then I go outside and I was like, oh, it's awful out here.
It wasn't real warm the last few days. Like leading up to that, it had not been overly warm. So, yeah.
Well, we are here to discuss Wilson's first game, preview the second game as well. Unfortunately, Justin, it did not go Wilson's way. Honestly, sitting here basically almost a year to the day after the last time this happened feels very much like deja vu.
Yeah. A lot of similar lines, like storylines to last year's team. Some unfortunate like turns early. Hang in there, fight, and then gets away from you. Like that could describe both last year and this year, so that's kind of how it goes. And we'll dissect it more as we go through the show, but, in certainly in general terms, it felt a little bit like deja vu, but with bugs and a long drive and also hot. So,
and we will completely dissect the loss to Roman Catholic. But before we do that, we want to thank our Season 9 sponsors of the Bulldog Hour, Bill Mays and Mays Sandwich Shop, for being here since day one and new this year, and a welcome addition to sponsorship at the Bulldog Hour, White Star Tours. Appreciate the support from both of those businesses, local businesses, as well as a few other people we want to mention who have stepped up as well, helping us out here. In addition to Mays Sandwich Shop and White Star Tours, also Mike Drago and MikeDragosports.com, back again for your number 3 with us. The Hop family and 5 anonymous donors. Really appreciate everyone's support of the show and all the kind words and reaching out to us, talking to us at the game, talking about how much they like the show. It really is appreciated, and we love to hear from you.
Awesome. It's always great to hear. I saw you're back on making your picks on
that's right, the Fearless Friday football forecast. Yeah. I actually did pretty well. I am the defending champ. Yeah.
I saw what a party sub on the line, right?
Yeah. I won last year, and I started off pretty strong this year. I think we picked 13 games, and I think I won 11-2, but I did get my double down correct. I went with Fleetwood.
Who did Fleetwood play?
I don't remember, but I know I picked them.
Tells me enough. That tells me enough.
I did really well. I lost on Wilson Roman Catholic. I went with the Bulldogs. And the other one I lost was Muhlenberg-Octorara.
Oh, yeah.
Octorara upset Muhlenberg in overtime.
Okay. So I didn't know it was overtime, but I knew
those were my 2 losses, I believe. So I think I was 11-2 game by game, but I'm going to get an extra point because my double down won. It was a fairly easy, straightforward week for the pickers. I don't think anyone was lower than maybe 9-4. But
that's right, starting off strong.
I was starting off pretty good. I definitely think I did worse last year. The first 2 or 3 weeks were rough last year, but I got into a groove and figured things out. hopefully the Bulldogs can do the same thing, figure it out quickly. But to finish up here on our housekeeping, ways to help us besides those sponsorships and advertising and kind donations and the website, you can do Justin's favorite.
Yeah, like and share. You see something you like, you can tell others about it. We like the feedback when we get it in person, like you mentioned, but telling others about it and spreading the word just helps the show.
Our next live show will be next Sunday, September 3rd at 8:30. So back to our normal day, standard time to discuss the game against Central Dauphin and preview Game 3 against Martin Luther King. Again, that'll be next Sunday, Labor Day Sunday, September 3rd. So we're into that football schedule. I don't have the early preseason stuff or the playoff stuff on here, Justin, so we can't remark about how things are.
Right, we would probably be close to the end of that first column already.
Right. Yeah, because you got youth camp and heat week and the first week of two-a-days, then the scrimmage, then our first game, all that stuff. You can check all those off.
We've got a while to make it through the first column, although I feel like it's going to be more drastic once we make it to the second column.
Yes, definitely, as we'll say goodbye to the first 5 games and look ahead to the next 5, but that is a while away. We're going to focus on August 25th, the action from yesterday, and then also look at the action coming up this Friday, September 1st. It'll be the home opener at Gurski Stadium, taking on...
I think Youth Night.
It is Youth Night, taking on Central Dauphin. Wilson got the best of them last year, and we'll go into that. We'll get in-depth about the Central Dauphin Rams in the second half of the show. But the first half of the show is dedicated to Wilson's game against Roman Catholic. And you heard us mention... It didn't go the Bulldogs' way, unfortunately. Wilson did lose their season opener for the second straight year now. Couldn't get the victory against Roman Catholic, a 5A school from the Philadelphia Catholic League. We know last year Wilson kept it close towards the end of the third quarter. I believe it was 20-15 with like 3 minutes to play last year. This year it was 20-14 with... I don't
5
exactly.
minutes left.
Yeah, I want to say
it was
5.
Like 5
with 3.5.
With 3.5, we were back down 13.
Yeah, it was 27.
But it was a two-score game,
right,
with 3.5 minutes left in the third quarter. But it didn't progress kindly for the Bulldogs from there.
Right.
But that's just kind of I don't want to say the danger, but like that's kind of what you get as you're going up against. Teams like Roman Catholic. There's just so many weapons on that team. And you look at it, and honestly, that's kind of what it felt like. Over the years, we've been doing this a long time. We've been watching high school football even longer.
Right.
So you certainly see games where it's like, oh, you can't stop this one guy, or even maybe a tandem, and like that's what a team will just use to just wear you down the whole game, either through the air or through the run or whatever. You're around long enough, you're going to see that. But it didn't even feel like that. I mean, maybe when we dissect the stats, it'll appear differently, but like it felt like a team effort, on Roman Catholic's part, especially spread out over the course of the game. Maybe not early on, but like throughout the course of the game, they just had more and more guys step up and make some plays, and some big plays at some crucial times, and it got out of hand late. But
again, deja vu.
Right. Well, Wilson did battle,
year.
And I did talk to you about that. Before we even made it back to the car last night. Like, I did feel like they kept battling, which, I know. The end goal is to do more than just battle, but when things aren't going well, if that's the goal in front of us, that's what we need to do. And in the fourth quarter last night, it wasn't as much, hey, let's come back and win this game, as much as let's keep fighting, let's keep getting better. It's week 1, and it's tough, but just like if we won that game, it would be just one win, even though it would be a huge win. You lose that game, it's just one loss. You can't let that dictate anything the rest of the way, right? You gotta learn from it, You can see there's lots of areas where we need to improve, obviously, and it'll give us plenty to work on. But at the same time, you have the opportunity to really kind of get things going and hopefully get back on the right side of the record column this week.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate thing is we had talked about it, that this was going to be a tone setter, because you win this game and you realize that there's a good chance this team can play for a long time. This, of course, doesn't mean that they can't, because Roman Catholic, I think, is going to be better than people expected to.
Yeah, I heard some people talking last night that they had the bigger star power last year, like at the top end.
Right.
They felt this was a deeper Roman Catholic in terms of where they got contributions from. They felt like it was a deeper team we saw yesterday.
I would agree with that assessment. Last year, they were flashy with Butler at offensive tackle, Denmark at wide receiver, Hal and Robertson at running back.
They
had Jameel Lyons at defensive end. Those are big name, Power 5 recruits either last year or this year.
Right, and juniors and seniors. Right. So they've moved on.
They had
a lot of them
people like Jaja Boyd came back. He was still there. Obviously, Samaj Beals, the quarterback, he threw for 5 touchdowns last night.
He's going to be back another 2 years.
2
now,
years,
who knows if that matters to Wilson at all?
Yeah, I don't know that it will. I would think not.
That's going to matter a lot for Roman Catholic over the next couple of years. You're going to hear that name a bunch. If you follow Pennsylvania high school football, you're going to hear that name a bunch over the next 2 years.
Well, he already has scholarship offers from Penn State and Alabama. And he's going to be able to pick wherever he wants to go.
Right.
I can't imagine there won't be a school that doesn't offer him or want to offer him. If he wants an offer, he will get it.
Hey, Deion Barnes, do your thing, man.
Let's go. So things started off a little rocky at Upper Dublin, home of the Cardinals. The game Wilson received. Well, first of all, let's talk about this. How weird was it that they were ushering us onto the field and they were already playing the national anthem before Roman Catholic?
Roman Catholic wasn't even in the stadium.
It wasn't even in the stadium.
Right.
Wilson barely got there. We weren't allowed to run through the banner, obviously out of respect. They didn't want to be doing the pump up thing while they're trying to play the national anthem. But it was just really weird.
It felt really disjointed.
I understand this is a team hosting that not at their stadium, but it's not hard to have a feel for the game and understand.
It's not like they never host games.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what was going on with that. It was awfully awkward. So they finished the national anthem. Roman Catholic enters the field. The captains are called out, so the 4 Wilson captains don't even get to run through the banner and do the band playing them on. It was very
which is also
odd.
funny because they've already done the coin toss. Coin toss is already done.
It's already finished.
That's all just for show.
Correct. So it was just very weird. Just felt super disjointed. I don't know. Maybe it should have been an omen that things were not going to go the way we had hoped or thought they would.
Right.
Wilson gets the kickoff. Isn't able to do much. Has to punt. Roman Catholic returns the punt deep. I think inside the 30, maybe even inside the 20. It was really deep. They got pretty close to the red zone just off the punt return alone. Now, another thing here, not to pile on Upper Dublin or Roman Catholic's non-field game management, all the stuff going on off the field. They weren't using the scoreboard completely.
I didn't even recognize that.
They didn't have down and distance.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that until I saw Paul mention it.
It was tough on the sideline that has the sticks. I had no idea what down it was so often because I'm trying to take pictures and update all the social media. I miss a play here and there, and all of a sudden I'm like, I have no idea.
You know what? That's probably why I didn't notice because I'm across. I'm at the press box, so I can see the sticks. So it was rather easy for me. Yeah, that's tough.
It was difficult to say the least, but I was aware that on that first Roman Catholic drive, they went for it on 4th down inside the 10 about.
Yeah,
it didn't convert, and Paul turned to me. He was like, "Wait, that was 4th down." Yeah, that was 4th down. So Wilson got the ball back. Unfortunately, a few plays later, fumble, turns the ball over to Roman Catholic. They capitalize, get the game's first touchdown.
Right. So the first chance where it just kind of like, some bad luck, a bad turn of events, and the thing is, and we talk about this all the time. There may you never know, it's week 1. But
Right.
there may be some times this season where things like that aren't that big of a deal. I mean, turnovers are always a big deal, but like, where you can still overcome it. Whereas against Roman Catholic, that wasn't. You cannot have many mistakes.
Right.
If you want to win that game. And across the whole game, just too many times where, I don't know if you want to call them mistakes, but just things not going the way we need them to for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah, it was a tough way to start.
Right, because it's really tough. Because okay, we had a couple plays that we were getting some yards, and then we lose the ball, but we had stopped them. So
right.
you had some momentum because you stopped them, and then you lose the momentum. It completely swings back the other way.
Well, then the next series,
right?
Wilson got some momentum.
Yeah,
they started moving, picking
good.
up key conversions, key plays, looking better.
Yeah, some nice catches.
Got past midfield.
Yeah.
And another turnover, and this one unfortunately results in an immediate score on a pick six.
Right.
By Roman Catholic. Now they weren't able to get the kick, so it's 13-0.
Right.
We're just like, this could get out of hand quickly.
Right.
Now, it would. The team kept fighting, kept battling. You said
right.
They never backed down to the fight at hand.
No.
Fought back, had a really nice throw from Hunsaker to Wagner near the end of the first quarter to set up in the early second quarter. Might have even been the first play of the second quarter.
Yeah, I don't know.
A busted pass play that Tommy kept the play going and was able to score a touchdown, cut the lead to 13-7. And now you have that momentum. Now you put points on the board. You showed that you can drive.
Right. You've shown. We had the turnovers early, but Tommy had some big throws there, like the pass to Jackson Wagner, and so like you see, like okay, we've shaken those first quarter of week 1, because you see that all the time. How many times do we talk about this, and how many times have we talked about how the shift from one scrimmage to from 2 scrimmages to 1 scrimmage is such a big deal. You get so many fewer reps for some of these guys. It's pretty tough.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that was a nice response to early issues, but weren't able to continue the momentum. Gave up really the first of many big plays that would haunt them the rest of the game.
Right.
A big touchdown to go into halftime at 20-7.
Right, and it had that feel of like, oh man, like maybe we weathered the storm. We battled. It's a 1-score game, and then just so quickly it's back to 2 scores, and it was going to be tough. You realize like again, those are the types of things that add up quickly when you're playing teams like Roman Catholic.
Right. So, come out of halftime, things aren't looking great. Roman Catholic's driving down the field, looking to score again. Again, it's a 20-7. They do stall in the red zone or close to the red zone. They set up for a field goal. I believe it was a 30-yard field goal, I want to say.
Yeah, it was a decent field goal, which was a little surprising because, like, the kicker, he was making his kicks, but I wouldn't have said he was making them convincingly. You know what I mean? Like, I was kind of figuring on them for, like, anything, like, under, like 7 or less yards. I figured they were going to just go, unless we had them back deep in their own zone. Like, I just kind of figured they were going to go.
Yeah. But they lined up for the kick, and it was blocked.
Yeah.
It was blocked by senior defensive back Jonah Pertet. And not only did he block it, he
just snagged it.
He grabbed it.
Right.
And off to the races he went.
Right.
He ended up scoring a touchdown, kicked the extra point. It's 20-14. And now you're thinking, okay, here we are.
Right.
We're right back in it. Now we weathered the storm of the first half. Got a key stop here, turnover, points off of it, special teams point, fantastic. Now let's go out, kick it off, defense shut him down, get the ball back.
Right.
Before we get to that, which didn't happen, I was on the sideline. I saw Jonah trying to catch his breath, get some water. He did not know he scored.
Well, it was really close, but that also brings up another weird thing. The line, like the thick double-striped line, was 5 yards deep into the end zone.
Yeah.
It's the end line for soccer. It's not.
It was weird, yes.
Right. It wasn't the goal line.
So,
and their lettering and everything. But, yeah, he was tackled beyond the pylon.
But he didn't know that. He didn't realize.
To be honest,
he was
I was worried
tired.
for a second because they had outrun the refs by a lot. Which, again, Jonah's fast. And the guy who was chasing him down is fast.
Very fast, yeah.
And so, like, I'm not, like, criticizing the officials for not being able to keep up with them. Like, I wouldn't be able to, right? Like, my back would seize up 20 yards into it probably or something. So, like, I'm not... But, like, I was worried that they were just going to not call it a touchdown because they weren't close enough to really see, you know? But it was a touchdown.
Right.
And it wasn't close enough to, you know, that it should be an issue. But I was just worried about that for like, what seemed like a few seconds. It was probably like a split second.
Right. All right. So I have, I don't know if we're going to do the huddle video or not this year. I'm not sure I'm going to do it tonight. But I do have some highlights to show. And I'm doing this on the fly here, so it might take me a second to get this working properly so that you can fully see it. But I'm gonna. Oh, good. It's sideways. I gotta fix that. So let me see if I can fix that.
Yeah, but again, that was a huge play. It was an awesome play. And like then John was just going. But like you said, to go back and then, you know, unable to kind of stop them, and then we end up back down 2 scores. And that's kind of where it was, you know, when we get to the point where we had referenced earlier. Now you're at that nearing the end of the third quarter. It's a 2-score game. There's a couple of moments where you started to maybe make your run, you know, or maybe try to seize the momentum and see what's going to happen. Both teams, you know, and it was still stinking hot. And it was so literally steamy. Like you could see like there's the haze on the lights and everything. You're getting what you get, but it did not feel like football. It definitely felt like
So this is, you can't figure it out. Fix this. I didn't have it. Jackson Wagner's big reception. So you saw the This is from Paul Roberts. Or on SV Sports social media for them. Great throw and catch. Great to set that first score in the second quarter. Well done. Jackson. See if I can pull it up.
Yeah, but you know, we kind of mentioned, you know, it just in the fourth quarter they started getting a lot of big plays. You know, there were a couple times where it looked like we almost have them stopped, and then like on a key down, they're able to not just pick up a first down, but maybe score. You know, again, that's kind of where. It seems like they got a lot of guys who are contributing. like he stopped on the goal line. That's 5 yards deep at the end.
So sideline view of Tommy Scram. Great stuff. Great show. If you need to go into the archive and check out our season preview where we talk about every game on Wilson's schedule, not just Roman Catholic and Central Dauphin, but all 10 regular season shows. So things fell apart after Jonah's punt block and I don't want to say scoop and score because it wasn't so much a scoop as a
Right.
I'm taking this to the house.
Right. Thank you very much.
Another big play touchdown.
Yeah.
A huge play touchdown. I felt like almost all of their touchdowns were 50-plus yards.
And a number of them were on, like, I want to say bubble screens because they weren't really, but like flares out to the side, but like that's, and this isn't a statement about our team as much as it is about their team because we all knew this going in. This, like, they're going to try and get us in as many one-on-one battles as they can, right? Which isn't going to be run between the tackles. Like, no. even though, like last year, they had a offensive lineman going to Kentucky and stuff, and they've got some big guys in the works there now. But, like, they want to get in space and make plays. And they did. They got in space, and they were able to make plays. And that is tough to stop because a lot of times you only have maybe one shot at them. Whereas when you're running between tackles, you might have 2 or 3 guys get a shot at it. That wasn't the case. You only get maybe one, and if they get the block on the guy, it's really tough.
Right.
And they're able to capitalize on their speed, and that just kind of was how that worked. But like you said, that's kind of how that theme kind of appeared over and over again for the last 15 minutes of the game.
Yes.
Of like game time.
All right. So, I said about the big plays outside of their first touchdown, which was a 5-yard pass from Samaj Beals to Deja Hopkins. They had a 68-yard interception return for a touchdown. They had a 46-yard run by Deja Hopkins for a touchdown. Jonah had the 80-yard blocked field goal return for a touchdown. Then Roman Catholic went 58-yard receiving touchdown, 66-yard receiving touchdown, 33-yard receiving touchdown, and 51-yard receiving touchdown. Right. Massive plays.
And honestly, how far do you think the ball traveled in the air on most of those? 20 yards? Side to side? It was like out to the side.
One of them was decent. One of them was pretty good.
Well, and that's I don't mean that to be a criticism because like they had the ability to throw downfield. We saw that yesterday as well. Like it's not like they couldn't do that. It was just it was tough.
So final score was 49-14. Again, once Wilson cut the lead to 20-14 with 8:17 left in the third quarter, Roman Catholic reeled off 29 straight unanswered points, all through the air, all through the arm of Samaj Beals, the sophomore big-time recruit. So statistically speaking, Wilson had 18 first downs. Roman Catholic had 11.
Right.
Net rushing yards, Wilson did not crack 100, 99. Roman Catholic ended with 144. Passing, they had 264. So Roman Catholic finished over 400 yards, 408 yards. Only ran 40 plays, so they averaged 10 yards per play, which is not what you want to see.
Yeah, that's not going to get it done.
I think one of the other things that stood out to me, Justin, was outside of the blocked field goal for a touchdown, it was a rough night for Wilson's special teams.
Yeah.
They didn't perform well both in the kicking aspect, the punt coverage.
Right.
Same thing with kickoff coverage. Their return game wasn't anything like it was last year, the last 2 years.
Which we knew, but like
it struggled more than I expected.
On kickoff returns, we were starting inside our 20 most of the times.
And I mean, credit to the Roman Catholic punter for also being able to put the ball where he needed to put it.
Oh yeah.
But we also were unable to return the punt We had a muffed one as well.
I don't think this is one of the stats we actually keep, but like the average starting position would have been
sure
drastic.
If that's on here or not?
Actually, I don't think we have it, but I bet within the stats here we have the ability to figure it out if we wanted to. I'm not asking to do that right now, but it's just one of those things where it was just. And again, all of that just tells the story that we are already talking about. We need everything to go right in this game, right? Like we need everything to go right. And
I'm not sure you can single out one thing and say that it went our way.
Right.
I don't know if we won any individual battles.
You talk about 3 phases or whether you want to break it down into the matchups or things. Yeah, it's hard to say that we won. There's some where we made some plays. It's not like we were getting. I know they mercy ruled us, but like it's not like every position group was getting dominated. From whistle to whistle, it wasn't like that, but it was enough of the little things that just kind of add up over the course of a 48-minute game.
Just a couple more stats here before we move on. Wilson, heard me say net rushing 99 yards, also gave up 4 sacks. So unfortunately, an area that we expected to be pretty dominant wasn't able to get it done in week 1 against Roman Catholic.
Well, in high school, that sacks count against the rushing yards.
They do,
correct?
yeah, because Tommy rushed for 77 yards but lost 33, so he netted 44. He had a long of 21, scored a touchdown, but just didn't get it done in the trenches. I think one of the biggest things, or the biggest thing, was, and you already mentioned this, depth. Coach Dom mentioned it after the game. Wilson's not a very deep team. There's not a complete 2 deep. They're relying on about 20 people to fill roles on offense and defense. And that's including rotational and a few backups that got time last night because we saw a few bumps and bruises, but especially cramping again.
Yeah.
And it was something that was emphasized afterwards that we need to find a few more guys that are going to step up and not be a liability because we need the depth. We need people to stay fresh. You mentioned Roman Catholics.
While it was hot last night, you can get weather like this through September.
Sure.
Easy. Like now it becomes more and more the exception, over the next month, but like you can easily get 80-some degree nights over the next few weeks.
You mentioned Roman Catholic's depth. We talked to coaches after the game that pointed out Roman Catholic rotated at least 20 different players on defense. Defense alone.
And
how many other guys played both ways?
And it wasn't just like in the last 5 minutes of the game.
No, it was throughout.
Right. Like back when it was still a two-score game, they were rotating
different bodies.
Like
staying fresh.
Different linemen. They had,
So, let's just say, for argument's sake, they played before things got out of hand near the end and they were going down farther on their depth chart. If they played 20 guys on defense when things were still questionable, close, and 11 guys on offense that very few, if any, played both ways, you're talking about probably 35 different guys they were using without batting an eye. Like, your next man up, get out there and do this. And that's something that the coaching staff has already pointed out needs to get better with Wilson this year.
Right. And that's also something where, like, the good news is that can happen. There's lots of things that, and this is maybe the segue, right? But, like, you kind of see it. Like, there was plenty that didn't go our way, right? Either self-inflicted or Roman Catholic just, kind of taking control. But a lot of those things, I'd say almost all those things, are things that you have hope will improve each week, and that, we weren't where we needed to be week 1 when we played Roman Catholic, which is setting the bar really, really high to begin with. But, let's refocus and let's get to where we need to be for this Friday against CD, and then the next week, against MLK, and that you hope by like the time you get to week 10, we're where we need to be to compete with Manheim Township, and you don't have to be a district champion caliber team week 1. You know what I mean? You can't wait till week 10 necessarily, but like it's a progression, and that's where, while it wasn't ideal, I look at a lot of the things and I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of room for improvement there, but again, how many times do we talk about this? I'm confident that our coaches will get the guys in a spot where they can show that improvement, you know, or at least give the guys the opportunity to improve. Now, that being said, the coaches can't go out there and do it for them. You have to have the guys step up and make it happen. So, but I'm confident that we'll have guys in the opportunity to step up, and we will see if people do.
The post-game statistics list at least 30 players playing for Roman Catholic and 20 for Wilson. So right there's 10, and there may be a couple guys in there that just weren't spotted.
Right.
So that's a huge. That doesn't sound like a lot. That's a huge difference.
Right.
10 more guys.
And that doesn't even count the special teams, like the guys who are running down on special teams.
Right.
And there were a number of kickoffs.
There were. All right, so the last two things we want to do first, I do want to mention and bring back Paul Roberts, just because, you know, Justin and I have said many times, and no, you should not be hearing Coach Dom's talk right now. I'm using this as an example of where you can get an interview with Coach Dom's. Right. Paul Roberts talked to him after the game. Justin and I, we don't talk to the coaches and
do
players.
That, right? Yeah. But like he's paid to do that. Whereas we're just kind of thankful for the access, and that's not really our role after the losses. But
I did want to point out that
you can get access to that.
Paul has a 3.5-minute interview with Coach Doms on his website, BurkeSportsReport.com, if you'd like to hear Paul's interview with Coach Doms following the loss last night to Roman Catholic. And to finalize our discussion about Roman Catholic here in 2023, we do want to point out, I mean, we've mentioned a few things that Wilson was able to do right, or a few highlights throughout the game. But we always award a player of the game. Yep. And we're going to continue that tradition and want to congratulate our first of the year. The Bulldog Hour player of the game against Roman Catholic is going to be senior wide receiver defensive back Jonah Pertet for his blocked field goal and the return all the way for a score, even if he didn't know that it was a touchdown
right.
until a couple minutes later. He also added 2 tackles, playing on special teams and defense. Was out on offense as well. He had a catch in the game that I thought was going to be a catch, and then they ruled that he was forced out of bounds, reestablished himself, but he still can't be the first person to touch the ball.
Yeah, they were talking about that up in the booth, that like I guess in high school, once you're out, you're out. You can't reestablish.
Well, so
or something like that.
So what we heard from the refs on the sideline was that he can still be part of the play, but he can't be the first one to touch the ball. So if there would be a fumble or a lateral, he'd be fine.
Or he could even get in and block if someone else caught a pass.
Correct.
Like, it's not like he has to like give himself up.
Yeah, like that he's done.
Right.
But he was not able to do that.
But it is kind of cool. We saw a couple big plays. You know, Jonah had probably the biggest Wilson play, you know, in terms of like highlight reel mentality. I mean, Tommy scored the touchdown too. But, you know, just like in terms of like attention grabbing play. And Jackson had the long reception, you know, and those are 2 guys that when we interviewed the seniors, those names came up in terms of like guys to look out for, you know, kind of really making an impact. And so, again, you know, bigger goals, but it is a sign of potentially good things to come if we are seeing some of those guys that we were hoping to kind of step up and make some plays are making plays. Yeah,
absolutely. So yes, Jackson Wagner and Jonah Pertet were mentioned throughout our off-season interview series, and nice to see both of them having highlights last night. Also the touchdown by Tommy, we saw those videos courtesy of Paul Roberts. All right, so that's it for the discussion about Roman Catholic. Wilson loses 49-14, starts the season 0-1. Comes back home opener this Friday, September 1st, kicking off a new month in style at Gurski Stadium against mid-pen rival Central Dauphin. They played, you know what, they hosted, I believe.
I don't know.
Hosted Central York yesterday. Central Dauphin, if you remember last week with Paul, we talked about how they had a down year for them last year.
Yeah.
3-7. Hit hard with injuries, especially at quarterback, down to their 4th stringer by the end of the year. Unlike them, had some pretty young guys stepping up, ready to go.
Yeah.
Not sure what to expect from them. They welcomed in a 6A powerhouse that has been very good the last 4 years or so, and they gave them all they could handle. Central York came out on top. They won 45-35, but it took, I believe it was 6 touchdowns from Jules Goff for Central York.
Pitt commit,
almost
Jules
three,
Goff.
almost 300 rushing yards.
Was it intentional? You left that part out.
I wasn't going to discuss that. No one cares. It doesn't matter. I should stop myself. Yeah. So.
But yeah, he is. He's the real deal.
Yeah. So Central York gets the win. Huge win for them against a 6A team. That helps them in their power ratings. Central Dauphin suffers the loss, but much like last year, they started the season, 0-3, 0-4, had a rough start, played big-time opponents. Central York lost. Wilson lost. Coatesville lost. Then they had to also play, Cumberland Valley.
Right.
Had to play Harrisburg.
But you look at both the loss to us and the loss to Coatesville were both one-score games.
With a touchdown or less. So they were hanging tough against teams that had good years last year. Both Coatesville and Wilson had great, made the playoffs. Central Dauphin, I don't know what to expect this year. It's tough after just one game, and they were able to put up 35 points. Central York hasn't been known throughout history of having a stellar defense. They had good defenses in 2020 and 2021.
Right.
One of which we got a very up-close and personal look at and came out on top of that game.
That was one of my favorite games.
Definitely one of the highlights for sure. But they also surrendered 45. Now, yes, it was to a running back that is going Power 5.
Right.
And putting up ridiculous numbers, much like the guy from York William Penn a few years ago, who is at West Virginia now.
Right.
I don't know what to make of that, though. Is it just because Goff is such a phenomenal
and it's so
prospect?
hard because it's 1 week.
Right.
So,
it's
you don't know.
Game, yeah. Because we know, Coach Dom said this after the game, Central Dauphin has 2 offensive linemen or linemen getting looks at for college, big-time college offers. So...
Well, and they put up 30-some points. And we just talked last week to Paul about how, again, it's different because we're talking specifically Wilson Central Dauphin, but Wilson Central Dauphin, if someone gets in the 30s, they're probably winning that game. You know, history would tell you if they get to 28 points, they're winning the game.
Right.
So yeah, it's I would be stunned if it's the same style game for Central Dauphin this coming week. But yeah, that's it'll be it's going to be an interesting matchup because you have 2 teams coming off of tough games in different respects, but they're Central Dauphin probably has we talked a few years ago. Wilson wanted to stop the streak that we had kind of going against Central Dauphin where they had beat us a few times in a row. Well, the shoe's on the other foot now, and Wilson's beat them a few times in a row, and I'm sure they're tired of that.
Sure.
And yeah, it's one of those where it's exactly what this game. I shouldn't say that. I would expect this game to play out like a lot of the Central Dauphin Wilson games. It's going to be
low scoring,
right, and just battles, and the guys up front are going to battle. There might be some big plays, here and there, but it'll be interesting to see if how it plays out. But I'm glad we get the home game. I'm glad anytime we don't have to go up to Harrisburg on a Friday night when Penn State's home is really not good. And I know people are like, well, Penn State plays on Saturday. Yes, but traffic's bad enough in Harrisburg, and it's even worse on those home weekends because you got to funnel everyone up there. But
right.
Yeah, so we shall see. And as you can see right now, Central Dauphin getting it done through the air a bit.
Unusual for them, for sure.
Except we know they've used that physical running game to set up the airstrikes at times.
Yeah.
A little different from what we were used to with Central York, where they were, airing it out.
Number 0.
Oh, you're man.
That's
you really need to.
That's unfortunate. Yeah.
But
so that was from ABC 27. A little quick highlights of the Central York win over Central Dauphin to kick off their season. Central Dauphin coming to Gurski Friday night. Yeah, I'd expect a low-scoring game. We talked about it with Paul last week. It's been a while since any of the Central Dauphin. Wow, what a combination there. Central Dauphin or Wilson teams scored more than 28 points, I think. Hasn't happened since the district championship game in 2002. All the games have been 28 points or less scored by either team. So you got to think it's a race to 3 touchdowns. That's where you're at. You want to get 3 to 4 touchdowns. If you get there, there's a good chance you could come out on top because this is a slug it out game. Now, maybe, as we saw in some of the highlights, maybe Central Dauphin is going to open up a little bit more. Maybe Kieran Plummer back for another year as a starting quarterback for the Rams. Maybe he has changed that offense a bit. Maybe they want to air it out a little bit more. Yeah. And obviously we saw Wilson gave up 5 big passes, touchdowns through the air. So maybe it's something Central Dauphin will try to take advantage of. I'm hopeful that Wilson is coming back injury-free. I hope no one was impacted too much by the game Friday night. Obviously, we were without a few players. In particular, A.J. Matta was not suited up. Two-way lineman, as well as senior wide receiver and defensive back Edison Case didn't play at all due to injury suffered during preseason. Don't know the status of those guys or when they'll be back, but Jack Dendel was back and ready to go after missing some time, including the scrimmage, because of his hand injury from earlier this summer. But it's always a tough task. You don't want to start 0-2. Have the same, I talked about deja vu, same discussion as last year.
Right.
You can't get into that 0-2 hole. Not because you can't respond and run the table and go 8-2, but you're putting yourself at
harder on yourself.
A disadvantage come playoff time too.
Right.
And we talked about last year. Wilson went 8-2 in the regular season, and what did we end up? The 4 seed.
Yeah.
It's tough.
No, we weren't the 4 seed.
Not the 4 seed.
We were on the road. We were like the 6 seed, weren't
6
we?
seed. Yeah, that's right. Or 7 even.
Right.
We went to Harrisburg. Was Harrisburg the one? No, Hempfield was the 1.
Right.
So yeah, we were the 7.
Yeah.
8-2 as the 7 seed.
Yeah.
So it's just
required a win over Manheim Township in week 10 to
make
the
field at all. And you could see a similar scenario play out this season. So we'll see. But back's against the wall already because of that loss. So hopefully they can respond just like last year. Came back, fought against Central Dauphin, rattled off a few wins, came up unlucky against Hempfield.
It wasn't pretty against Central Dauphin, but they were able to get it done. And honestly, I guess in reality that's what every week is about. But especially early in the season, it doesn't have to be perfection. That should obviously be the goal. You want to get it all right, but you need to improve on the things that we need to improve on and make enough plays in all 3 phases like we kind of talked about, and hopefully be able to kind of make that jump this week. And Coach Thomas has already talked about many years has talked about the jump you see from week to week, especially early in the season.
1 to 2.
So let's see it. Let's see that this week for us.
So the series history, Wilson Central Dauphin, this will be the 14th meeting between the programs, a lot of them happening since 2014 when the teams picked up the normal slot on the non-league schedule. Glenn McNamee is the head coach. I mentioned the Rams were 3-7 last year. Central Dauphin does lead the series 7-6, but as Justin alluded to, Wilson's on a little bit of a run now, beating the Rams in 2019, 2021, and 2022. There was no game in 2020. So 3 straight wins for the Bulldogs in the series. And Wilson can even it up at an even 7-7 with a win Friday night at Gurski. Wilson's last win was last year, September 2nd, and Central Dauphin's last win against the Bulldogs was the end of 4 in a row on August 24th, 2018. That was a game at Gurski in which Wilson got down early and clawed and fought their way back, but ultimately came up short. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was 2017. 2018 was at Central Dauphin, and they needed a late touchdown to not get shut out. It's streaky series. Each team seems to rattle off a few wins before the tide turns.
Well, I'd love to be able to run that streak a few more games.
Yeah, I'd like to see a few more Wilson wins. I'd love to see them get on the right side of the series history and say that Wilson leads against Central Dauphin. But that's what that's what we have on deck.
Yeah.
On Friday, Wilson Central Dauphin. What Justin, to put you on the spot because I know you love it. What
Absolutely.
would you say is the one thing you'd like to see changed, improved, coming off the field Friday night, hopeful for a Wilson win? What would be the main reason for it?
Okay, has to be one thing.
It doesn't have to be. I was trying to make it easier on
Okay,
you.
I'm going to give you two things.
Okay.
I'm going to say we need to be able to establish the run. Not because we can't pass, but because we can't rely on Tommy to and I'm saying this like complimenting Tommy. Like Tommy had to do a lot yesterday on offense. He was running and he was throwing the ball right before he got hit a few times. Like, but we have to be able to run the ball, and I think we've got the guys to be able to do it. I think the situations in the game yesterday led us to kind of have trouble with that as the game went on. But I think if we can run the game, that allows our guys outside to be bigger weapons as well. Because we saw some of those guys I thought Austin made some really nice catches in traffic. Jackson had some nice play. There were guys making plays. It's just, we talked about there were too many things that didn't go right against Roman Catholic. But if we're able to run the ball, then that not only creates its own weapon, but it also allows that passing game to be a different type of weapon,
Right.
And, that's basically how I kind of view that. So, offensively, I'd say being able to establish the run. I feel like that would be a game changer just for the offense. Defensive. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say I'm right there with you. I think establishing the run ties into what I was going to say is have that strength along the offensive line come to bear.
Yeah. I mean, yes, that goes hand in hand with mine. And then defensively, I'd say play a little more confident on defense. It seemed like, and again, this is through layman's eyes, but it seemed like there was almost like a sense of not hesitation, and maybe that was the speed of Roman Catholic. You know what I mean? They're just being faster. But I felt like we had a lot of guys who were close to making plays on defense a number of times. And, especially in the first 3 quarters of the game, if any of those happen, who knows, you never know.
Right.
We were really close to getting the handle on some passes early, and we did get our hands on some, just if any of those things kind of happen. And so I'd say just kind of making that next step and flying around, being the aggressors on defense. I think that would be in the right direction for the defense.
Yeah.
And again, not that they weren't, I think a lot of it was more Roman Catholic than us. Does that make sense?
No,
And so I think, but we can't control the Roman Catholic stuff. And I know this is so cliche that my players used to, I don't want to say hate, but they used to get on me for this all the time because I would say it every chance I got. We can't control that. We got to control the things we can control.
Control the controllables.
Crisp, get more crisp with the things we can control. Play aggressive, do those things. And I think that would put us in a good spot. So those would be the two things that I would, if I had to pick things, those would be the things that I think if we see big progressions there, I think we're setting up to do good things.
I agree. Back to basics, better tackling, hopefully more rotational pieces, spell a few guys, get some breaks, hopefully have a great week of practice, regroup. Yeah. We've seen a couple teams now with their backs to the wall, and they've all responded. With the history of the program, and all the evidence we've seen on the field, there's no reason to expect that things aren't going to move in the right direction, and it can happen quickly. And I hope that starts Friday night at Gurski.
Oh, it would be great
to get 2023 rolling, get that first win in the column, and then look ahead to a few more manageable games. It's a rough start to the season having Roman Catholic and Central Dauphin back to back, but you learn a lot more against the best of the best.
Right.
And so having those two up front it can beat you up a little bit,
right?
But you learn what you're good at, maybe what you need to
But
improve
it's also
on.
why you put this game in, and not that we have to schedule it, but that's why you have this game in week 1.
Yeah.
You know, and Manheim Township looks the part. Let's just leave it at that.
We don't have to worry about them till week 10.
Right, right. But, you know, like, we've got that team that's probably going to be sitting there in week 10. But, like, you know, you don't need Roman Catholic week 10, you know, or 9 leading into, you know, that's week 1. It's a good bar. You know, I hope they can use the seniors that we interviewed. Remember, they told us that was one of the things they liked about camp at East Stroudsburg. It was a good experience in that it gave them a good, honest look at where they were, you know. And I feel like if they can use Roman in that mindset too, like, hey, that gave us a good, real clear look at where we're at right now in August. But August isn't the end point. If you grow from it and you get better as a team, there can be a lot more highs for this team as over the next few months.
Yeah, I think the Roman Catholic game is going to prove to be an outlier, not a trend. I think it's going to stick out and be like, man, what happened there? Well, we know what happened there. Big plays happened there.
Right. And as you watch, I wish Roman Catholic a lot of luck because their wins help us.
For us,
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how great would it be to see them run the table would be phenomenal.
Run the table would be nuts,
that would be huge because that means a win against St. George Prep. Also, LaSalle College High School, two teams that are usually the best of the best when you're talking about Philly Catholic League. Those teams down there, St. Joe's Prep, LaSalle College High School, and now Roman Catholic's right there with them. It seems that they have.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, it's funny to think that we thought we saw the best of them last year. I'm not sure we did.
Right.
This team, they might be better this year. And
do they have a receiver with an Alabama offer as well? I thought I had heard that.
Yeah, I thought I had heard that too, but I don't know who it was.
Right, I don't know. But, like, yeah, that just...
They were impressive.
Very impressive.
Very impressive. So, I know they've been trotting around the 7-on-7s, and they won a few, I think, up in, like, Connecticut or something like that. At least one. Obviously, you can see why, because they had the size and the speed to just take over games. And anytime it felt Wilson was knocking on the door, maybe clawing their way back in, they're just like, hold up, we're gonna take care of this right now, and they put up another big touchdown.
Right.
That was frustrating for us, but obviously that's what you want to see from your team. You give up a little, you answer right back, and they answered every single time and then some.
Yep. And to be honest, in the bigger picture, that's what I want to see from Wilson this week. Like, all right, you took one on the chin. That's over with. Like that, you can feel sorry for yourself on the bus ride home last night, and then after that, like that's done.
Today
There's
was a day
literally
of
nothing
forgetting.
we can do about that. Let's start prepping for CD.
It's going to linger in tomorrow because they're going to watch the film, but then come Monday.
See, I was off a day because
right.
I'm thinking it's Sunday night.
Right.
I thought they'd already watched their film.
Yeah, we're on early here. So they're watching the film tomorrow. That'll be the last Roman Catholic that you want in your memory. They move on to Monday, focus on Central Dauphin, which they'll watch Central Dauphin film as well. And you don't have to worry about the Cahillites, which we learned of what a Cahillite is.
We did.
It was not what I thought it was.
No,
so,
me either.
interesting history lesson. We'll let you all figure out what we're talking about. Do use the Google machine to figure out what a Cahillite is.
Are you going to have to post one of those, let me Google this for you?
Let me Google this for you. No, I think people can do it. It's not what we thought it was, and Justin gave me a history lesson yesterday as we were waiting for the game to start. So always interesting. I won't go into my tangent about the Roman Catholic uniforms, about how they felt uneven without the white on the helmets. Just the I'm sure they call it gold. I hate that. It's yellow. It's not gold. yellow and purple, which I like the color combination. Really cool. Just I feel like they needed some white on their helmets.
I can't do that because
because you hate the Vikings.
Well, no, well. I do, but
okay.
I grew up. Those are Lancaster Catholic skulls.
Oh. Yeah. Yes, as a Roll Tide Columbia member for a long time,
right.
You can't cheer for the
which I kept that to myself when we were having that discussion with Coach Sands pregame yesterday.
Yes. But I said, to finish the show completely, they need to put that crazy like Gothic RC logo on their helmet. How do you not have that on their helmet?
Right. They've got a cool like crest and
they've
got
a
that
cool
stuff
crest.
and they had it on like all the shirts.
They have a roundel crest that I used in here. I have it on the. I use that on the schedule. It's hard to see because it's small, but they have like this badge too.
Yeah.
I don't want that on the helmet.
No,
but I do like it, but that's more for the school, not the football team.
Yeah.
But the athletic program has a really cool like RC Gothic crest.
I feel like that would make like a cool patch for where like the nameplate kind of goes. Like that type of thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
So that was just
now we've really gone on a tangent into your wheelhouse of uniforms.
Well, I was gonna say I'm a uniform junkie. I love that kind of stuff. So they're of course it's not gonna pop up now. Oh no, here it is. So maybe it used to be on their helmet. Here it is. Can I make that any bigger? I'm sure I can. Yeah, let's do that. Here we go. So I was just like put that on the side of the helmet, probably in yellow or gold, outlined in white on the purple helmet. Then have the yellow and white stripe down the middle. They need to add the white. They only have yellow, and then have the number on the other side. That would be pretty cool. I think that would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yep. So
if they're looking for ideas, they can reach out to
contact me. I can come up with all not just Roman Catholic. Anybody looking for uniform aesthetics, I'm more than willing to be a free consultant. And that I'm a proud card-carrying member of UniWatch. So if you don't know what that is and you're interested in uniforms, you definitely should check it out because it's fantastic. I've had my name published in that a few times as well.
Yes.
And just most recently, I don't even remember what it was for. Do you remember I sent it to you? I was like, check it out.
I don't know. I can think of a few of them, but I don't remember what the most recent was.
I was on that site before for a Reading Phillies post because it's odd for sports teams to play color versus color uniforms. And then I was at a Reading Phillies game where it was happening. Right. And I got a post and a retweet out of that. But yeah, I love all kind of crazy stuff. So. All right, Justin, anything to say about game 1 or game 2?
No, just like I said, I hope we kind of take that mindset of putting it past us, moving on, have a great week of practice, and be ready to go next Friday night and for the home opener. There'll be a lot of people there.
Youth night.
Yeah.
Do it in front of the kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a great game. So yeah, I think that's it. Hopefully. Wilson gets their first win of the season next Friday. We will be back in 1 week's time to talk about the football team again. It'll be a lot of fun, as it always is. Love talking about the Wilson football team. And I'm glad I pulled up these files because I promised that I would post this, and I don't want to forget and go back on my promise. The whiteout shirts are available right now. That is for the game against Mifflin, which will be at the end of September. I think it's like September 29th is the game. And the whiteout shirts are on sale through the WFPO via GS Designs. Always have an interesting design created for these games. And the QR code on there will take you to the ordering site, or you can use the shortened version. I've also posted this on social media, so you can just go click on the link on Facebook or Twitter to order your whiteout shirt. So make sure you get that gear online as soon as possible, because obviously that ordering period ends on September 10th. So you got less than 2 weeks to order those shirts for this season. And I think I'm glad I pulled that up. I would have felt really bad by not posting that up there. Yeah, you keep shaking your head over there. Now let's see if I can find the actual thing that I was looking for. Here we go. This it is. This will do it. This will do it. Okay. All right. We will have a guest in studio next week. Mike Drago will be joining us to discuss Wilson's first 2 games. He is going to be at the Wilson Central Dauphin game. Always like to have these gentlemen on, or any of the media personalities on, after they've seen the Bulldogs play. And Mike will be at the Central Dauphin game on Friday, and he will be joining us next Sunday night to discuss Wilson Central Dauphin and how the first 2 weeks have gone for Wilson. Be an interesting discussion with Mike after Roman Catholic and Central Dauphin are in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, and hopefully a fun one.
Yeah, I hope it's fun. I hope we're in a better mood. I think we did pretty good tonight. You know, it's obviously
so. Right.
It's always a down discussion. We always hate talking after a loss. It's not what anyone wants to do.
It's not nearly as much fun. But we enjoy it. Like, we still have a good time, but like it's a very different feel.
For sure. Nothing was more difficult than in 2017, where we're sitting there like, this has been tough, guys. But hey, they ended up having a really good year.
Yeah.
So, and think back just to 2021.
Yep.
Those losses to Mifflin and Exeter. Mm-hmm. People were going nuts. And we're like, just relax. They'll figure it out.
This team will be fine. And they were fine.
Upset Central York and go within a play or two of winning the district championship against Harrisburg, at Harrisburg.
Right.
So, yep. 1 week doesn't mean a season. Lots of football left to play, and we look forward to discussing it all with you again real soon. But that's it for Justin Raffoff and me, and for the entire football program. Until next time, remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.